All right, welcome to the 7th Cavalry Gaming Podcast, or CavCast. I am your host, Command Sergeant Major Nexhex, and I am honored to be your host as we explore all things Milsim. Here on the podcast, we're going to be discussing all things related to our community, events, training exercises, and anything else Milsim. We'll also be having special guests from our community sharing their experiences and insights on how to make this gaming experience the best that it can be. Whether you are a seasoned veteran or just starting out, there is a little bit of something here for everyone. We are excited to bring you some behind the scenes looks into our community and give you an inside look at what it's like to be a part of this community. So grab your gear and get ready for a thrilling ride as we start the first episode now. My special guest this week is Brigadier General Tharen, our newly appointed Brigadier General. And welcome to the cast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We also have our executive producer, Captain Burton, with us this evening.
It is great to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we're going to dive right in and start asking some of those hard hitting questions. So let's start off with Tharen. How did you hear about the Cav and why did you join the Cav?
Well, I was looking to play Arma 3, and I was watching YouTube videos to kind of get me interested. And I somehow came across the Tactical Realism 2 server for Arma 3, the public server. And I started playing on there, and it seemed like it was exactly what I was looking for. And honestly, it took about 3 months because I was a little shy at first, but I was playing there consistently. And I really wanted to join. I was kind of waiting for somebody to ask me to join, and it didn't really ever happen. So then I just bit the bullet and I did it.
You had to take that initiative.
Exactly, and it's been a hell of a ride ever since.
That's a good way of putting it, especially because I think you went right into tanking, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. So I was an armor crewman when I first joined the Cav. Didn't know anything about it, but it seemed really cool to me to be in a tank and have all that destructive capability at your fingertips. I really enjoyed it. So I just ran with it, and through the Cav and through being in the Cav, I just learned as much as I could about it and then tried to apply it within the context of Arma 3 and just had a blast. And that led to so many other things, like trying to learn infantry or trying to learn how to be a medic and just all sorts of different things that you can do in Arma 3 and through the Cav. And it just got me hooked. It got me.
Yeah, the Cav will do that. And I think that is a big part of what, grows our community in general is just the amount of different things you can do, whether that's infantry, aviation, armor. We have the newly formed Ready or Not group, which is doing like police tactical movements. Like there's like I said in the intro, there's a little bit of something for everybody, and all it takes is a little bit of that kick to get you going, and then all of a sudden you have the itch, and you just have to keep coming back.
It's exactly what happened to me, and I'm sure many other people. And it's quite the journey because, like you said, it's not just through the game that I found initially, which was Arma 3. There's a gateway into so many other games. And then beyond that, it's the relationships and it's the people that you meet. And this place really stood out to me. And it's those types of things. It's our values. It's our brotherhood. It's this place is different. And that just keeps me coming back for more year after year after year.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. There's so much built on our community and brotherhood, and whether that's, attending classes or showing up to different meetings or just playing video games with your friends on Discord, right? I mean, there's something there that you just don't get anywhere else, and it's that camaraderie that you build, and it's almost like building those friendships like worldwide too, which is really cool and unique because one day you could be playing video games with somebody from Norway, another day you could be playing with somebody from Texas. We're a worldwide network of gamers, and it's really incredible. To kind of tie into the experience and getting involved in the milsim aspect, what kind of interested you in milsim from the get-go? Because Arma's definitely not like, some massive AAA game like Call of Duty. It's definitely more of that milsim environment. So how did you get into the milsim aspect of gaming?
It's something I've always been interested in since I was young, which would be just anything to do with the military. And just as, a young kid playing with my brother, just playing soldier and just running outside and doing all sorts of stuff in the woods and just having fun with that. And then when I got older, I thought at an important part in my life, I wanted to join the U.S. Naval Academy and go that route. And it's something that I started to really investigate, got pretty far in the process, but I was very conflicted because I wasn't sure if I wanted to dedicate my life to the Navy and that route or go like the commercial route or the civilian route. So I wasn't sure what to do. I ended up not joining the Navy and then just going to a university. But I've always wondered if I made the right decision or not. And just through that, it's just always interests me. I also remember watching the coverage of Desert Storm on TV, on
Oh yeah,
CNN especially.
yeah,
And that was one of the major formative news events of my young life.
yeah,
So everything, I couldn't get enough. I was just fascinated by the coverage, as so many people were, and the images and everything that was happening. So whether it was world events or just the military or milsim in general, it's always been at the back of my mind. It's always something I've been interested in, and it's just wanting to scratch that itch, and that's all it comes down to. And wanting an outlet for that, and video games is a great way to do that. And then why not take that one step further? And then finding the Cav, you could offer an experience like this where you get to role play with that. You get to be in a leadership sandbox and all sorts of stuff that you don't normally get to do. And it pushed all those buttons for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
yeah. I think that's there's probably a lot of us that have a similar backstory of why we got interested. There was so much in our formative years of playing soldier out in the woods, and I'm sure for many of our members there was similar mentality or similar experiences, especially with conflicts and things that happen throughout the world. It really shaped who we are as a generation. Movies like Top Gun, stuff like that is what drew a lot of people's interest into the different milsim aspects of gaming. And obviously we all grew up with games being developed specifically for that niche, so it's really been kind of a whirlwind of experiences for all of us to get to where we are now. I remember back when I was a kid, there was because you mentioned Desert Storm, there was it was a console game, I think, back in the day for like GameCube or something. And I think it was called Operation Desert Storm. And I just remember that game being so cool. It was like a tactical co-op game, and you had to like set up, like roadblocks and ambushes and all sorts of different stuff to, get rid of the bad guys. And it was just like such a cool game at the time. I'm sure if I were to go back and look at like the graphics and stuff now compared to what's coming out, it probably looks horrible. But I just remember it being so much fun and playing that with my friends and brothers growing up.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely. And
it's funny that everybody has a similar background with that.
yeah, for me, long ago, the original like Ghost Recon game was something that I was
Oh yeah,
infatuated with, playing it on console, and other Tom Clancy type games, like Rainbow Six and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah.
I've always
There
enjoyed
was
it.
a cool game. I think it was like the predecessor to a lot of the like Arma stuff. I can't remember. I think it was like Operation Flashpoint or something. I can't remember the name of it, but it was very similar. It was like a team tactics game. I think it was a little bit smaller scale, but that game was really cool. And then I also remember when like the original Arma came out. It was like Arma Combined Assault or something like that, and it was all like marine based stuff, and it was just so cool. And being able to really start that adventure into clans and stuff, That's kind of where I got my start, was just playing with a clan, TAW. They were like called the Art of Warfare. They were a really big Arma clan at the time. I think they're still around. I don't know what games they support now, but they're definitely not as cool as the Cav, that's for sure.
Yeah, for me, a part of my gateway into video games and groups like the Cav, my first gaming group I was part of was called the Rebel Squadrons, and it was a Star Wars group, and they played Star Wars games like X-Wing and TIE Fighter and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and Jedi Knight and Dark Forces and stuff like that. So all the original Star Wars games from LucasArts, but I've always been a huge Star Wars fan as well. And that was kind of the first group I ever played with. And obviously it's evolved and launched into the Cav today in terms of what I like to do and participate in. And it's definitely a hobby, and it's something that I'm passionate about.
It's surprising that with all that aviation experience, like with X-Wing and TIE Fighter and all that you didn't do more aviation and instead went to like total ground pounding tanks and boots on the ground type play.
Yeah, and it's also funny because you mentioned Top Gun earlier, and that
Yeah,
certainly inspired me to want to join the Navy and go through the Naval Academy because I wanted to be a naval aviator.
right.
Didn't have 20/20 vision though, so that wasn't meant to be. But
Yeah, it's a bit of a wrench in the cogs, I guess.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, the aviation thing has always been something that's interested me. So I am surprised. I guess I haven't really gone that route with Arma 3 yet. I've never even attempted to fly a fixed wing jet or a helicopter.
We might have to edit that out. I don't think we can let people know that you were the 1-7 commander and you never even tried.
Well, there's always tomorrow, so
There's always time. Yeah, that's true. There's time. There's
it's
time.
better late than never. I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
was actually.
I'm sure I'd like it. It's also I'd never felt like I had the computer that could actually handle it, but that might have changed recently. We'll see.
Oh well, time will tell. And it was funny too. I was actually talking to Swagger from DCS, and he was telling me some different things that DCS offers now for people that don't know how to fly. Like they have an RTS module that you can add on to the game, where you actually like control combined arms on the ground type situation. And it's like a a top down thing, but you can kind of engage with the aircraft that people are actually flying, which is kind of cool. So yeah, might have to check that out because that sounds kind of cool. And I'm a sucker for helping everybody out and playing all the games that we have. So even though I might not know how to fly very well, that might be a good way for me to engage with them.
I'm open to it. Been playing a little bit more Hell Let Loose lately, and I'm really on a ready or not kick right now.
Yeah.
I enjoy the combat in that game a lot.
Well, and the other thing that Ready or Not is doing really well right now is they have so many unique operations because the modding community is so prevalent for Ready or Not. There's so much content out there. So there's a lot of opportunity. I know, Perry is working on like their own training facility. He's actually building that within the Unreal Engine so that we can have like a 7th Cav training facility, which will be really cool. And they'll have like a firing range and a kill house and all that good stuff. And I think he said it's based on like the actual FBI Academy. So whenever that gets done, that'll be really, really cool.
Yep, I really enjoyed the Ready or Not ops. So shout out to Lee,
yeah,
and everybody else who's been doing that and running those.
The creative minds. Yeah, I think that's one of those things that really makes the difference in the Cav is the people that put together the operations, the training. Because it really does take a creative mind, right? You can pull some inspiration from real life and scenarios and things, but at the end of the day, when that curveball comes of, well, you got to do this now instead, it's like these people somehow pull out all the stops and just figure out the best way to make it engaging for 5, 10, 20, 60 people. Some of our operations are massive, and they somehow are able to do that.
For sure, there's a lot of important jobs in the Cav to keep this place running, but throughout my Cav career, I've always focused more on the, like S3 operations and S7 for training. But yeah, I've always viewed them as content creators. That's what gives everybody stuff to do in the Cav, and that's what makes them keep coming back, is having fun with those types of things. So it's great for retention, and I've always had the most fun focusing on those things.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think even our support departments too, like S1 and those guys, that it's all such a thankless job. Um, and like the only reward they get is just the people being excited about the new operation, the new medals, their mill pack getting updated with the shinies. It's really, that's like the only thanks they ever get. So if they don't hear it enough, like, this is us saying thank you to them now, because there really is a lot that goes on in the background that people probably don't realize.
There's a
So
lot of
yeah,
unsung
it's
heroes,
it's
and
great to see that our community is able to kind of come together and create these memorable experiences.
yeah.
And speaking of memorable experiences, what are some of like your most memorable experiences, whether it's like operations or training or just kind of hanging out shooting the shit with your buddies?
So one of my most memorable moments in the Cav was the first time I OIC'd a 24-hour operation. I think I stayed for about 20 hours or so of the whole operation, and I was pretty proud of myself because I felt like it was a big obligation, that the 24-hour operation was very special and needed really good leadership. So I tried to step up to do that. And I think it went pretty well. And that gave me the confidence to kind of be a launching point for being the commander or platoon leader or whatever for future operations. So I really enjoyed that experience and felt like I got a lot out of it and learned a lot. So that was one of my favorite moments in the Cav. One of my other favorite memories in the Cav was the first time that I got a silver star. That was a big moment and a formative moment in my young Cav career. It was being an armor crewman in a tank, and I was in a crew of 3 people with my squad leader at the time, which was Sergeant Miller, and he was the tank commander. And we killed a bunch of vehicles. We were in a firefight, and we got hit by an enemy tank, and our tank got destroyed. And Miller was unconscious as a result of the tank getting destroyed, so he was wounded. And I was not unconscious, but I was also wounded. But I was able to get him out of the tank and drag him to safety and provide life-saving care and call in medics who were able to get him back up to full health and all that good stuff. So that was a really fun moment. And then that became a running joke because it actually repeated itself multiple times, where I got another bronze star and some other stuff where basically it was the same situation, completely different operation, but same thing, where he was my tank commander. He got wounded, and I basically had to save his life. So then it became a running joke, and within our squad and stuff like that, and it was just fun to be a part of.
Surprisingly, I have never earned a silver star.
Oh, well, you should probably go to more
Despite
operations.
despite all my amazing exploits and things that I do in all of these operations, all 163 or 193 or whatever I think it's 63, 163. But in any case, apparently I need to go to more ops.
Yeah. If you go to about 400 of them, you should get about
yeah.
3
Once
silver
once I get
stars
to
or so.
400, I think I'll have at least one by then.
Just do a lot of stupid stuff, and one of those endeavors will pan out, and you'll get.
Yeah,
a
because
silver star.
that's really what silver stars are, right? Like, you did something so stupid but somehow lived, and then you got an award for it.
Yeah, let's cut that.
Do you remember your most recent silver star, Tharen?
I remember that you nominated me for it.
Yeah. Do you remember what it was for?
Probably being in a vehicle crew.
Yep, that sounds right.
With both of us, and we killed lots of things and won the day.
Yeah, we really did. We were like the spearhead of an assault, and it just worked out. Sometimes those Hail Mary passes just connect, and it feels so good.
Right, and you didn't get a silver star because you were the one nominating other people for it. Is that
Well? That's okay
right?
though. That's how medals are supposed to work, despite what everybody thinks. I was just curious if you remembered that one, because it was just as good as the Miller one, but that one, I mean, it was just so good. So, alrighty, moving on to our next topic. What do you think the future of our community is? What kind of games would you like to see us get into? Who do you think is going to be like the next big rising star for the Cav? Whether that's the next World of Warcraft or an RTS or a first person shooter or something. What do you think is going to be the next big hit for the Cav?
I really don't know, but I do like the fact that the Cav is being more inclusive with the games that we support, and we are trying more new things. They don't always work, and that's okay. That's why we try it, just to find out. But who would have thought that Hell Let Loose console would have caught fire as it has? Who would have thought, we could do Ready or Not or even DCS the second time because we already tried it the first time and
Yeah,
it
and I
didn't go as
think
well.
yeah,
So
and I think DCS is already like if they continue with the growth that they've had this first month for January, they like if they continue that same growth, they'll literally be the size of a battalion by the end of the year.
yeah, so those types of surprises are really, really great success stories to see. So who knows what the next game would be? But I always thought that maybe a game like Star Citizen could really fit in the Cav and kind of do what we do. Yeah, it's in space, but it could potentially down the road once it's finished have a whole combined arms aspect to it where you could do capital ship battles, you could do spaceship battles, like fighters, first
Yeah,
fighters,
yeah,
and there's tanks and vehicles in the game and ground combat, and you could be space marines. Anyway, all those things combined, there's a lot of potential there. So maybe a game like that down the road one day. But the obvious answer is Arma 4.
yeah,
So
yeah. Hopefully that gets announced soon. I'm still got my fingers crossed. I still think it's going to be sometime at the end of this year. Hopefully fall. They'll announce the release date.
yeah, I think we'll find out more information later this year, and maybe like a trailer or something like that, some sort of announcement. But I agree, not till 2024 at the earliest, not till next year,
Yeah.
or even 2025. Will it be? Will we be playing it?
Yeah, actively playing it. Yeah,
Right.
because I mean, even Reforger, which now we do have a server up with some basic mods and stuff like that. I mean that was like almost 6-7 months ago,
Yep, it
and
was May.
it took us a little while to get that up and running to the point where it was actually playable. So hopefully the lessons learned from that for Bohemia, they can really take the good and put that towards Arma 4 and get that release to be nice and smooth, because I'm sure some people remember the Arma 3 release, which was kind of a nightmare. There was like really bad mod support. There was like one game mode that everybody played. It was kind of like a King of the Hill variant, and it was just kind of garbage. And the AI were just so powerful. It was rough to start out. So hopefully, the pre-release kind of tech demo of Reforger really helps nail down exactly what good needs to go into Arma 4.
Yeah, we'll see. But I do think it's very exciting that we're open to more games than ever before, and there's a lot of surprising success stories that are
Yeah,
the most positive part of the Cav right now.
yeah, and I will say, I mean, even attending some Hell Let Loose stuff. I know you and I went to one of their public play ops recently, and we were trying to figure out how to drive the tanks around and how different the tanking is. It's cool because you can have the really modern tanking experience and things like that in Arma or Reforger, driving BTRs around. But
Or
then you can
Squad.
also go, yeah, or Squad even. True, yeah. And then you can go like way back in time and go into Hell Let Loose, and now you're like having to actually crank the cannon of the tank, around just so that you can actually get a good shot. And it's just cool that there's such a difference in all the games that we support. So yeah, I think it would be kind of cool to get a future game. I know we've tried stuff like PlanetSide, which is a little dated now, but finding something like that, Star Citizen, Combined Arms would be really cool. So yeah, I think I wouldn't mind playing a little bit more of a futuristic style game that's a Combined Arms, but there's just not a huge market for that right now. But hopefully, with Star Citizen's budget and time that they've put into it, they produce a good product soon.
Yeah, I think that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that really would be.
Or two or three.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's for sure something that will be talked about down the road, I'm sure. Obviously, outside of our milsim aspect of gaming, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to most in our gaming community now that you're in that Brigadier General position?
Well, I'm excited to be learning about the rest of the regiment. So I am not as familiar with ACD and 27, for example. Talking to a lot of great people, a lot of the staff there. They're showing me the ropes and teaching me a lot, and I enjoy learning more about the Cav and other areas, as well as other departments that I haven't had the pleasure of being a part of before. And then getting to learn about them and use all that to figure out ways that we can help them as general staff and support them, and how we can help them meet their goals to help their departments or their battalion to take it forward to the next level.
Nice. And in your position, what would be your kind of oversight while you're kind of getting the reign of things as the newest general?
Well, basically, the short version is probably I'm helping Lieutenant General Burgundy as the Chief of Staff run the day to day. So, whatever I can help with, I'm all about. Specifically, I'll be overseeing S1 as a department, and also I'm taking a more proactive role working with 27 as well, 2nd Battalion.
Nice. That's good. And it's good to know too, that's just another set of eyes from a different perspective to help everybody out. That's one of the big benefits of our general staff is we don't have any, allegiance to one game. We're able to kind of jump around and mingle with everybody. So yeah, hopefully people are excited and ready to work with, yourself, myself, and the other generals and really start growing those communities. And yeah, I think there's a lot of good things to come, and it's great to have a new fresh set of eyes in the general staff. um, One of the things I thought that you might be able to give some insight on is what are some tips that you would give to people that are interested in kind of moving up in that leadership chain, and what are some of the things that you would say are like not like fallacies but things that people might have perceived about leadership positions that might not be true, and what are some things that are actually, you know more of a benefit than what people might realize?
Well, we could definitely use more leaders. So anybody who's got that bug and is willing to step up and volunteer and help everybody else out, I encourage them to do so and commend them as well. In terms of advice, it just starts with talking to your squad leader and expressing that you're interested in doing more. So definitely have that conversation. You can also have that conversation with your platoon sergeant. Again, just express that you're willing to step up, do more, ask if there's anything that you can help with, and then get more involved in the Cav. So whether it's a secondary department like joining S1 or joining S3 or S7 or whatever it might be, just get more involved, and that will help you learn about the Cav and how things work, and also give you the opportunity to meet and work with other people that are outside your squad, outside your platoon, that maybe you normally wouldn't have worked with before. So it's always a great learning experience to do that. And it helps us keep the lights on, because we can't function without volunteers who are doing the work that all those departments do. That's so important to what we enjoy on a daily basis in the Cav.
Yeah.
And then after that, like, just try and become whatever your game is, whatever your MOS, try and become a subject matter expert in that MOS and that game. So if you're doing, airborne in your game or something, try and become a subject matter on all things airborne. Take the classes for that. If your game has a end game pathway, try and get the badges for that or the rewards for that. And if they don't have one, volunteer to help create one, because we always need help with those types of things.
Yeah.
And become like a teacher in S7, become an instructor, and being forced to teach those things is a great way to become a subject matter expert, because you're working with the material, you're answering questions, and It's not as hard as you might think it would be because you are given an entire lessons plan and like a script to work from. So it's already all planned out for you. So it's easy to work with. And then in your own section practices, when you do have an opportunity to be a fire team leader or to be a flight leader or whatever it might be, take advantage of that, step up and start practicing. And then the last thing I would say is whatever game you play, if you've got a public server, just play on the public server. Volunteer to organize other people into your squad or into your tank, or be a forward air controller or whatever it might be, whatever you're interested in to lead and whatever your MOS is, and just try and foster organized gameplay. And all that type of experience will help you be a better leader in the Cav.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too. Is a lot of people when they first start playing in the Cav, they might be nervous to be the squad leader or be the FTL or jump into those leadership positions. But that's one thing that I think was really cool about the Cav when I first joined is people are very willing to teach you if you're willing to learn, because you don't know obviously what you don't know. So nobody's going to expect you to be an expert, when you volunteer for the first, 5, 6, 7 times. Obviously you're going to improve each time, but those of you that are interested in like trying out those squad leader positions, nobody's going to tear your head off if you make a bad call, right? Like it might suck in the moment, right? But at the end of the day, like it's a game, that we're all just here to learn and have fun and build this community and play with our brothers and sisters in the community. So, the more that you play, the more that you have experience, and yeah, just don't be afraid to volunteer for those positions. That's how you get those silver stars, like you step up, you make things happen. And I think just being able to do that, whether it's like I said, a fire team leader, a squad leader, even just being able to volunteer in a secondary billet, and help those guys out, that stuff goes a long way. And it makes an impact for a lot of our members all the way across the board. We have people from all over the world, and they're all willing to give back to our community just a little bit. And I think that's what makes this place truly special.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And another thing that's always impressed me about our unit is what we do to help prepare people to go into leadership positions. I've never been in another gaming group before, for example, where they have a non-commissioned officer academy that is 2 days worth of classes, or
Yeah.
an officer development school if you go that route. So there is really a baseline that's trying to be taught there to help prepare people to become leaders. So obviously those classes and stuff like that as well is also a great way to take that next step into leadership and kind of learn about what it might be like. It won't make you an expert leader by any means by taking those classes, but it will certainly give you kind of a basic idea of what the expectations are and what you should be doing. And again, just as a gaming group, to take it that seriously and have those types of leadership courses, it's always impressed me. And I think it's one of the major things that sets our group apart from any other.
Yeah, it's cool too, because it's like you said, you're just adding some tools to the tool bag by taking those classes. It's not just about the game. Some of the stuff we teach in those classes is about management and leadership and group and things like that. So it's not just like anything in the Cav. It's not just about the game, right? Like there's part of that community and brotherhood that we always build on, and I think that's what really differs us from other milsim groups. While other groups are just a collection of people, playing the game, and they might know what they're doing, the Cav really sets themselves apart by being organized, by having those levels of leadership, building those tactics up, whether it's in Ready or Not or DCS. We have such a huge collection of knowledge that everybody just wants to play, and like we said at the beginning of the podcast, scratch that itch. So it really just kind of ties it all together into a nice bow of what we're trying to accomplish here.
I agree, and that's why I'm going to be a member for a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going on 6.5 years or something like that. So if I'm still here, they got me.
Yeah, they got me. I'm pretty sold on this place.
I'm pretty sold. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere, but you never know. outside that, I don't really have anything else. Do you have anything else you want to share with us before we sign off for this episode?
Do you remember back in the day when we'd go through boot camp and they made us yell
Oh
frag
my
out at the top
god.
of our lungs?
The old boot camps. I remember I did it with back when Caster was the what did they call it?
He
The
was the
drill
starter
sergeant.
platoon. Yeah.
The starter. It wasn't starter platoon. It was literally like drill squadrons or something like that. And it was like A, B, and C. And I remember you had to show up on X days to do your drills, and you learned basic formations, and you learned,
Oh, that was
shooting, and
MEPS.
yeah, it was like MEPS. It was
Yeah.
the whole thing. It was wild. And I was like, wow, this place is serious, man. And they're like, yeah, if you don't show up and you don't do a makeup, then you're done. You're out. And I was like, oh god. It was so stressful back in the day, but yeah, it was fun. And I think there was, honestly, it was Caster and somebody else that was like here for a long time. Mapstone maybe, or Murphy. Remember? Yeah, that was fun.
DI for a long time. Anyway, I'm really excited to work with everybody in my new role, and I look forward to learning more about different areas of the Cav, playing different games, and having fun with everybody. So, see you out there.
Yeah. All right. And that is a wrap for this episode of the 7th CavCast, 7th Cavalry Gaming CavCast, something like that. We'll figure out the name next time. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and learned something new about the world of our Milsim gaming community and all things 7th Cav. Don't forget to check out our website and our social media pages for more information about what we do and any other upcoming events and things like that we got going on. We do have weekly public ops for all of our games, so recommend you guys attend those. They're really fun. And if you haven't, there will probably be a good way to subscribe to this podcast, so that way you never miss out on any of our episodes. We thank you for listening and being a part of our community. And until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and we will see you on the battlefield.